Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4 Bookshelf. And with me today is a co-host, Christina Vincent, who's in the Public Services Department at Palos Heights Library. Hi, Christina. Thank
Hello.
you for being here. And on this show, Christina and I are going to take a look at a variety of books in a variety of categories. Hopefully, you'll find something that sounds interesting to you. And we're going to jump in with some titles that we've read and then move on to some titles that are coming out soon. And I think, Christina, you're going to take the first category, which is historical fiction with a biographical quality to it. What have you got?
Okay, yes, this book I just read recently. It's called Her Hidden Genius by Maria Benedict, and it just came out this previous January. It is about Rosalind Franklin, and it is Maria Benedict's powerful new novel shines a light on Rosalind Franklin, who sacrificed her life to discover the nature of DNA, a woman whose world-changing contributions were hidden by men around her, but whose relentless drive advanced our understanding of humankind. And I really enjoyed it. It is, again, historical fiction, biographical, and it's written as a diary from Rosalind's perspective throughout her career, the very beginning of her career, and then working up to discovering the structure of DNA through X-ray pictures, and then the aftermath of that, and it goes up all the way to her death.
Sounds interesting. Sounds really interesting. Thank you for recommending that book. The next category we're going to take a look at is nonfiction, explorers of the 19th century. This book also just came out, I want to say maybe within the last week or two. This is a fresh one here. River of the Gods, Genius, Courage, and Betrayal, Search for the Source of the Nile by Candace Moore. I've just started reading this book. I like it. It basically tells the story of the search for the headwaters of the Nile River. They've been shrouded in mystery. And so it's set in the 19th century, which is a time period where the European powers are exploring the world, unknown corners, and, at the same time trying to extend their colonial empires. This is in the background. And then within this, the book really focuses on two characters, Richard Burton and John Hammond Speke, who were sent by the Royal Geographical Society to, find this headwater for the Nile River. Both very, very different guys. Burton spoke 29 languages. He was a decorated soldier, but he was also mercurial, subtle, an iconoclastic atheist. The beginning touches on that in a very interesting way. Speke was a young aristocrat and an army officer determined to make his mark, passionate about hunting. In some ways, very much though the opposite of Burton in temperament and belief. So so far, not far into the book. I like it. I definitely want to recommend it. It certainly is a story, like in the title, of courage, definitely adventure, and again, that backdrop of Europeans, colonial powers expanding to exploit Africa. So it's good. I definitely recommend it so far. All right, the next category, Christina, you're going to take a look at a book that's actually been out for a while. In the Down and Dirty, look at a fictional 1970s rock band. And that's a bizarre category heading, but Ellen Hildebrand came up with that description of the book. And I thought, boy, that's an interesting description. What can you tell us about this book?
All right, yes, this book is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and it did come out in March of 2019, so it has been out for a little while. It is about a fictional band in the 1970s, a gripping novel about the whirlwind rise of an iconic 1970s rock group and their beautiful lead singer, revealing the mystery behind their infamous breakup. And it is written as a very interesting way, as multiple interviews from different characters, so they have different points of view of one cohesive story. And I had to remind myself several times that it was a work of fiction because the way it's presented is so convincing. You would think that was about an actual 1970s rock band. And the author said they drew inspiration from many real life rock bands, but one of the big ones was Fleetwood Mac. And it's also possibly, it's going to be an Amazon TV show in the future. It's still in production though. So if you like the book, keep an eye out for the TV show.
Yeah, and if you haven't read it, maybe read it before the TV version comes out. I've heard that about the book, that it has it very, like, it's not a real band, but it feels like you're reading about a real band out of the 70s. So that sounds it. All right. Now we're going to move on to some titles that are coming out in June throughout the month, and then actually after that we'll do a sneak peek of some titles in July. The first June title I'm going to touch on is a historical mystery thriller called The Last Call at the Nightingale by Catherine Shellman. This is an interesting book. It has that darkly glamorous feel, the speakeasies, where you have music and alcohol and secrets. It's New York in the 1924, and the main character, Vivian Kelly's days are filled with drudgery, from the tenement lodging she shares with her sister to the dress shop where she sews for hours every night. But at night, she escapes to the Nightingale, in an underground dance hall where illegal liquor flows and the bands play the Charleston with reckless excitement. But obviously, it takes a dark turn, and she discovers a body behind the club, and that's when danger comes knocking. So it's compelling. It's atmospheric. I'm going to give you a library journal comment here. Shellman expertly creates a strong sense of pace, introducing a nightclub as a world where people of different races, classes, and sexual orientations can come together. So it sounds interesting. This is one I'm kind of looking forward to, seeing how she does with it and how people react. All right, the next book is in a category, Christine, I think you're taking this one, multiple perspectives, humorous family life fiction. There's a mouthful, a lot going on there. What can you tell us about this?
Okay, so this one is called Tracy Flick Can't Win by Tom Perrotta. And if anyone remembers the old movie from 1998 called Election with Reese Witherspoon, that it was based on a book by Tom Perrotta, and this is actually a sequel to that. So 24 years later, we have a sequel to that story. And the rundown is Tracy Flick is back, and once again, the iconic protagonist of Tom Perrotta's Election and Reese Witherspoon's character from the classic movie adaptation is determined to take high school politics by storm. In classic Perrotta style, Tracy Flick Can't Win is a sharp, darkly comic, and pitch-perfect reflection on our current moment. Flick fans and newcomers alike will love this compelling novel chronicling the second act of one of the most memorable characters of our time.
Wow. It sounds interesting. And obviously, if there's a first one and then a movie of it, it has a fan base. It's popular. So, all right. Thank you for that one. How about the next category it's a debut novel by this author, Motley, described by one publisher as heartrending, and using heartrending and resilient. Nightcrawling is a dazzling novel, according to the publisher, about a young Black woman who walks the streets of Oakland and stumbles headlong into the failure of its justice system. This debut of a blazingly original voice that bursts at the seams of every page and swallows you whole. There was one other author's comment on this book. One night, what begins as a drunken misunderstanding with a stranger turns into the job Kara never imagined wanting, but now desperately needs: night crawling. Her world breaks open even further when her name surfaces in an investigation that exposes her as a key witness in a massive scandal within the Oakland Police Department. I'm always excited about debut novels, especially when they get such positive, early reviews like this. So it's night crawling. All right, let's see, Christina, you've got the next one, and Publishers Weekly described this book as Austen-esque. So I thought it was a great, one-word label for this. What can you tell us about it?
So this book is called It All Comes Down to This by Therese Ann Fowler. And again, yes, they like to describe it as Austen-esque. It is meet the Geller sisters, Beck, Claire, and Sophie, a trio of strong-minded women whose pragmatic, widowed mother, Marty, will be dying soon and taking her secrets with her. Marty has ensured that her modest estate is easy for her family to deal with once she's gone, including a provision that the family's summer cottage on Mount Desert Island, Maine, must be sold, the proceeds split equally between the three girls. And I found that it reminded me of another book, at least the concept of it reminded me of This Is Where I Leave You by Jonathan Troper,
Oh,
where
yeah.
there was another, like, the in that one, it's the patriarch of the family has died, and the four siblings who haven't really talked to each other in a long while have to come together and uh, be under the same house for a week
Right.
while they go through the funeral. So I felt like it was a very similar concept of
Yeah.
a head of the family has passed, and so these siblings who haven't really talked to each other in a while have to come together and realize in their differences and try to come together under that circumstance.
Yeah, no, it sounds interesting. I didn't read the book you're talking about. I saw the movie.
Mm.
I liked it. I thought it was
Mhm.
good. So maybe between that and the Austen-esque, it has an intriguing quality to it.
Yeah.
All right, how about we'll take a look at another book. This one's a little closer to home here.
Mhm.
This is a coming of age novel, which may be a little bit accurate. This is not really a young adult novel, but it deals with that concept. And it's set in Chicago in 1999. And it's titled Last Summer on State Street by Toya Wolf. To me, this book sounds really interesting. And this is probably going to bump to the front of my reading list to pick up when it comes out. A striking coming of age debut about friendship, community, and resilience set in the housing projects of Chicago during one life-changing summer. I'm going to use the publisher's comments here. Profound, reverent, and uplifting. Last Summer on State Street explores the risk of connection against the backdrop of racist institutions, the restorative power of knowing and claiming one's own past, and those defining relationships which form the heartbeat of our lives. Interweaving moments of reckoning and sustaining grace, debut author Toya Wolf has crafted an era-defining story of finding a home, both in one's history and in one's self. So again, another interesting debut novel, and I like the Chicago connection, and it's getting like good preview. So I'm looking forward to this. All right, you got the next one, and we're
Mhm.
still in June here. What have you got in the historical fiction category?
Okay. Yes, going off actually on Last Summer on State Street, dealing with racism and stuff like that, is Horse by Geraldine Brooks, which also touches on um, racism and how America has and has not changed. Uh, the little summary here by the publisher. A discarded painting in a junk pile, a skeleton in an attic, and the greatest racehorse in American history. From these strands, a Pulitzer Prize winner braids a sweeping story of spirit, obsession, and injustice across American history. Based on the remarkable true story of the record-breaking thoroughbred Lexington, Horse is a novel of art and science, love and obsession, and our unfinished reckoning with racism. And I was reading through some of the other descriptions, and apparently it takes place, it has three different timelines happening, one in the 1800s, one in the 1950s, and then one in 2019. So it touches on these three stories that eventually get interwoven across these three different centuries.
It sounds really interesting. Historical fiction is one of my categories, and obviously we have a great writer here. So good. Something to look forward to coming out real soon. Let's see. The next one, we're still in the month of June, is The Desperate Hours. And this is in the nonfiction and inside view. And this is kind of interesting because it's dealing with something that we've just lived through. This is we're taking a look at Desperate Hours by Marie Brenner. A description of this book is a remarkable depiction of a city in crisis, based on new behind-the-scenes reporting that captures the resilience, peril, and compassion of the early days of the COVID pandemic. specifically in the spring of 2020 when COVID-19 arrived in New York City. The Desperate Hours is more than a thrilling account of medicine under extreme pressure. It is an intimate portrait of courageous men and women coming together in their devotion to their duty, their families, each other, the city they loved more than any other. And I've heard that it's her collecting that information, letters and interviews and transcriptions of things, and it sounds interesting to get kind of that a much closer view than we normally get just through the TV. What these people lived through and experienced. All right, let's see. I think we have one more in June here, and you got a book. The category would be a recipe for this book might sound like heartwarming, unexpected romance, and a dash of humor. What do you have, Christina?
Yes, that one is Flying Solo by Linda Holmes. And the little description of it we have here. A woman returns to her small Maine hometown, uncovering family secrets that take her on a journey of self-discovery and new love in this warm and charming novel from the New York Times bestselling author Linda Holmes. With a cast of unforgettable characters and a heroine you will root for from page one, Flying Solo is a wonderfully original story about growing up, coming home, and learning to make a life for yourself on your own terms. And yes, I would probably best describe this as a small little mystery and an everyday kind of adventure.
Okay. All right. Sounds like like a fun summer read kind of book.
Yes.
All right. So now we're
Low
going to move.
stakes. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we're going to move on to some July titles. And the first book we're going to take a look at is Tomorrow, Tomorrow, Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I know for me, I like the title just because of the allusion to the Shakespeare Macbeth, and is a famous line passage that the title character speaks. But this is going to fall in the category of science fiction with a gamer quality. And I know there's a love element in this story too. It sounds very interesting, uniquely, kind of put together. This comes from the best-selling author of the book, The Story Life of A.J. Fikry. And this is a book I've wanted to read. Like, I have it on my list to get to. I hear it's really good. So I'm going to have to read that and then get to this author's, maybe their second book. But in this book, we have two friends, often in love but never lovers, come together as creative partners in a world of video game design, where success brings them fame, joy, tragedy, duplicity, and ultimately a kind of immortality. Spanning 30 years from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Venice Beach, California, and lands in between and far beyond, Gabrielle Zevin's Tomorrow, Tomorrow, Tomorrow is a dazzling and intricately imagined novel that examines the multifarious nature of identity, disability, failure, the possibilities in play, and above all, our need to connect, loved and to love. And yes, so it is a love story, but it's not one that you've read before. Obviously, there's a lot of other elements to it. So check that one out, coming out in July. And let's see, Christine, you got the next one, also another July title, in the when you combine a rom-com that has elements of a mythological love story, from another culture, folklore. What do you have here?
Yes, this one is called Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalda. Sorry, hold on. No, that's, we had misspelled. It's Bolu Babalola. Apologize. Sorry, I'm going to take that again from the top. That's okay.
No, that's okay. You're good. Keep going. Tell us about the book.
Okay, so this book is called Honey and Spice by Bolu Babalola. This is actually technically her second large written work. She had a debut in Love and Color, but that was a collection of short stories. So Honey and Spice is her first novel. Let me pour. So Honey and Spice is a vibrant debut novel full of passion, humor, and heart that centers on a young Black British woman who has no interest in love and unexpectedly finds herself caught up in a fake relationship with the man she warns her followers about. It's a side-splittingly funny and sparkling debut novel Honey and Spice is full of delicious tension and romantic intrigue that will make you weak at the knees.
I like a cute description. It sounds interesting. Again, maybe this is another good summer read, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and obviously she's, popular with her short stories. So maybe, she'll hit a good one here with her first novel. The next category in another July novel is science fiction that touches on genetic engineering. And we're taking a look at the book Upgrade by Blake Crouch. This book is described as a mind-blowing new thriller from the author who also wrote Dark Matter and Recursion. And the element here is you are the next step in human evolution. At first, Logan Ramsey isn't sure if anything's different. He just feels a little sharper, better able to concentrate, better at multitasking, reading a bit faster, memorizing better, needing less sleep. But before long, he can't deny it. Something is happening. This is an intimate in scale, yet epic in scope. Upgrade is an intricately plotted, lightning-fast tale that charts one man's thrilling transformation, even as it asks us to ponder the limits of our humanity and our boundless potential. So, here's a book that obviously has a sci-fi quality to it. Sounds, might have some parallels to some other books or other stories that have been out there, Limitless or Gattaca or that kind of thing. I'm really not sure. But this definitely sounds worth taking a look at. And obviously, we're dealing with a best-selling author. And I think our last book, Christina, you're going to take the last one here.
Mm-hmm.
What have you got?
This one is under the category of Gothic historical thriller, and it is The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Silvia Moreno Garcia. It is a reimagining of the original Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells. Little description here is from New York Times selling author of Mexican Gothic and Velvet Was the Night, Silvia Moreno Garcia, comes a dreamy reimagining of the Island of Dr. Moreau set against the backdrop of 19th century Mexico. It is both a dazzling historical novel and a daring science fiction journey.
Sounds good. And I remember The Island of Dr. Moreau. I read that. I saw at least one film version of it, I think.
There's quite a few, yes.
Yeah. And I read Mexican Gothic by this author. I like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this to see what she does with that. I love the category Gothic historical thriller. So, all right. Christina, thank you very much for taking time, with us this morning. A lot of good titles out there. Thank you for helping pull those together and, sharing those previews.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Dave Wurzall, and you've been watching Bookshelf. Thank you for watching, and good reading.